From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello everyone. I am Keith Allen and welcoming you, Mr. and Mrs. America, to this August 31st, 2017 edition of For the People. Can you believe it? August is up. More stories coming in from Texas, from heroes and then mothers that paid the ultimate price, and something that any mother would do for their child, any father too. But this story here, you got to hear. This happened in Beaumont, Texas. The police were talking about a mother's instinct to protect her child. The name of the mother that we're referring to being withheld because she passed away. According to police, this dramatic rescue began to unfold this past Tuesday afternoon. We're just hearing about it about 3:37 p.m. after a woman trying to help her child and herself. They were stuck in high waters, trapped in a deluge that dropped nearly 30 hours of water on the Beaumont Port Arthur region there. The woman pulled into a parking lot, apparently, where her vehicle soon became trapped in the rising waters, and the vehicle got stuck, and the mother exited the car with the child, according to the police department, and at some point, she was swept into the canal. The police officers and two fire rescue divers in a Zodiac responded and searched for the woman. They found them about a half a mile from their vehicle floating in the floodwaters. And what they saw broke their hearts. The child clinging to the mother's body. The current was pushing them forward in a flooded trestle. According to the police report, the child was holding on to the mother. The first responders got to the mother and child just before they went under a trestle, and the water was up to their trestle, and first responders would not have been able to save the child if they had floated under it. But the toddler's survival being hailed on social media and the internet as a miracle. The 3-year-old child clinging to her dead mother's body, plucked from floodwaters just seconds before again being swept under flooded trestle as rains of Harvey plummeted southeast Texas on Tuesday. The baby also had a backpack that was helping her float on her back, and she was holding on to her mom. Riley said, the officer said that absolutely the mother saved her child. Even after death. They tried to administer, obviously, CPR on the way to the ambulance and the hospital, but the mother was unresponsive. She was declared deceased shortly after reaching the hospital. The child was responsive, but suffering from hypothermia. But the baby looks like is going to be just fine. Writing on faith.com, outreach.com, editor Keesley Strader stated, "Praise the God of miracles who makes his mighty hand known in times of distress, assuring us that in this he is sovereign still." Streeter asked for prayers for the woman's family and cited a passage from Isaiah 43:2. It reads, "When you pass through the waters, I'll be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." Pastor Jack Graham of Prestonwood Baptist Church in Plano, Texas, called the child's rescue a dramatic reminder of the value of life in the heartbreak of loss. In an email to Newsmax Wednesday afternoon, Graham stated, "Every child's life is a miracle, and every loving parent is inspired to courageously fight for our children's future during turbulent times. The miracle of love transcends tragedy, and even in great suffering, there is a God who never lets us go. This mother will live in the hearts of this child, Graham added, and I will pray this precious girl will grow up to do something great in the world. She was spared by the mercy of God and the heroic actions of her mother. So in the midst of tears, there is triumph. Graham added that his church is sending volunteers and 12 semi-trucks loaded with food and water to southeast Texas to help with recovery efforts. Wow. What a story. What a story, folks. It's more of this, more of these stories I'm sure will be coming, but that one it just stunned me when I read it. I thought I had to take a little pause for that, and you can kind of see what a mother would do, and any mother would do that, and they say apparently she was holding her baby up above the water, so she was probably taking in water, but holding the baby up so somebody could see the baby, to save the baby so the baby wouldn't drown, and clung to the baby's, and the mother saved the baby. There's no doubt about it, and the baby will live on and hopefully will do great things. Man, all of us should be doing great things, no matter where you are, what you're doing in this life. We all have something to do, and we're alive, and as long as we have a pulse, we have a purpose. And Paul Newman said that to somebody years ago that was struggling with depression. We're here for a reason, and some of us may never take on that much water or never go through a catastrophe much like that, but it's a pause to kind of look at that, and it could be any of us truly doing that. And I've heard of old men coming to the rescue of people, and, having the strength of a 20-year-old, lifting a car off somebody, just crazy stuff like that with an adrenaline rush, and then dying afterwards, or swimming out to somebody to rescue somebody and did, and then died, but gave their life. And that's what the mother did for the child. And there's no greater love shown than that's for sure. So prayers for the little girl and for the family for the loss of this mother. And for now up to 30 right now believed dead in Texas. The death toll, they say, as the floodwaters start to recede and the sunshine starts shining, they believe that more bodies will suffer or surface, rather. They believe a lot of the folks that they can't get a hold of are missing. It's just where they are right now. A lot of them just they can't be found right now because a lot of the houses are just underwater. Vehicles are submerged, so they're guessing between attics, which they have warned time and time again not to crawl in the attic. But if you're in a house, your house is going underwater. They think that most people think the highest place. Let's go into the attic. Certainly, the water's not going to go this high, but it did. And they say never go into the attic unless you have an axe where you can actually axe into the roof. So it's good advice for anybody listening, or if anybody is putting an emergency contingency plan together. It's good stuff. Sebastian Gorka, he's been a guest here on For the People several times, and we'll have him back on again in the future. He said that his resignation from the White House was just the second phase of his agenda. In a very combative interview with Channel 4 News, Sebastian Gorka, the former deputy assistant to President Donald Trump, appeared on British Channel 4 News in a very combative interview and showed that he is just as willing to be a pit bull for the president after quitting the administration as was before. But Gorka says that Trump sent him a message after he left the administration. And I'm going to share it with you. He says, I'm not here to stoke palace intrigue stories, he said. I had enough of those up to my ears with those for the last 8 months. He must have gotten quite an earful. As you can imagine, with everything going on, Steve Bannon was his boss. The press secretaries, in and out, and firings and leaks. I'm sure he got a good taste of the swamp and just the everyday doings of Washington and just the process of egos and agendas of folks. And he's alluded that, and you may have heard that there's people in the Trump administration that is not as Fix America First friendly, let's just say, as Donald Trump is. And a lot of them are holdovers from Obama. And I'm just thinking to myself, if you know this, they're holdovers. I mean, come on, what is Donald Trump famous for on The Apprentice? What does he say? What's his famous line? You're fired. There's got to be a purging. There's got to be a better way to get rid of some of these folks. I mean, sometimes you just have to clear house. I mean, Trump knows this as a CEO. A purging of the House might be a great idea. I wish we could do that with the House and the Senate. Just get rid of them. There's only but a few senators on both sides that are worth their salt. A lot of them are just spineless. They can't get anything done. It's all political for them. Forget about the American people. But that's another story. But that's exactly what your statement has done. Grew McCarthy challenge. You can't say that you're not here to stoke palace intrigue when you release a resignation letter that talks about, you know, people who are against President Trump's agenda without saying who they are. So, you know, the reporter there kind of held him to the flames. You are precisely stroking intrigue, he said. So if you have a pulse and you're breathing and you follow the U.S. policies, you know exactly who I'm talking about, Gorka said. So he answered back immediately. I'm not here to attack the administration and block or individuals. I'm here in support of the president's agenda. And he reached out to me after my resignation, and he informed me that he would like me to do so from outside. And that's what I and Steve Bannon and everybody else who's committed to the Make America Great Again agenda will be doing. He says, this is just phase 2 of the MAGA agenda, he exclaimed. He says, well, he may have sent you a message after the event, here's the reporter, but surely you felt let down by the president. I mean, after all, you were out there every day defending him, and he didn't lift a finger to stop you leaving the White House. This is Marthy asked. He's not at all, Gorka responded. Not at all. Not at all. This man is unstoppable. The fact that we have entrenched interests for decades in the city is just a reality that we're going to deal with. But this is all contradictory. Guru Marthy said, I mean, you're saying he's lost control and the people around him have pushed out the great supporters like you and Steve Bannon, and yet you're saying that he's unstoppable? He's clearly is stoppable because people like you have pushed out, the host said. So this is what Gorka says. Gorka angrily rejected the claim made by what is called a low-level flunky who sent an anonymous letter to reporters. As my letter indicated, we have a temporary situation with these people who are not committed fully to the MAGA agenda, who are in ascendancy, he said. But it's a temporary state of affairs. It's not about my ego or where I'm sitting, Gorka continued. It's about the president's agenda being realized. And right now, the best way we can do that, Stephen, myself, and others, is outside the building. It's a very simple calculation. If you want me to explain it to you a fourth time, I will, he added. So this was a very fiery interview, and you can check it out for yourself online. But later, when asked about Charlottesville, of course, he had to go there. Gorka pointed out that Bernie Sanders supporters who targeted Republicans in the terrible Virginia shooting attack and the left-wing attacker, it's the left who has normalized violence. Gorka added, the KKK are a joke. They don't have any place in normal political life, but didn't you look at those pictures of Nazis? The host asked it and interrupted and say to the president, look, Mr. President, you've got to condemn these people. Can't say that they're the same. They aren't great people among those marchers. These are Nazis. Just keep spinning your left-wing wet dreams, please, Gorka spit out. Is that the best you got? No, I mean, you clearly are not listening. There's violence on both sides, he answered. this is a left